Welcome back to Morning Joe. Democrats in several key Senate races have raised more money in the first 3 months of this year than their Republican opponents. The New York Times reporting in states like Kentucky, South Carolina, Kansas, and Maine, Democratic candidates have topped and almost doubled the fundraising of Republicans. That's according to new Federal Election Commission filings. In Kentucky, for example, Mitch McConnell's Democratic opponent, Amy McGrath, raised more than $5 million more than the Senate Majority Leader in the first quarter of 2020. Both have roughly the same amount of cash on hand. In Arizona, Democrat Mark Kelly raised more than $4.6 million more than incumbent Republican Senator Martha McSally. And in South Carolina, Senator Lindsey Graham's Democratic challenger, Jamie Harrison, with a haul of more than $7 million, raised nearly 30% more than the $5.7 million Graham did. Even though many Republican candidates have more cash on hand, the surge in fundraising suggests a new dynamic in some 2020 down-ballot races. John Howman, what do those numbers tell you? You can look specifically at Kentucky. There are some people wondering if McGrath actually has a chance to unseat the Senate Majority Leader, who can raise a ton of money and does have that powerful incumbency.
Yeah, Willie, I don't think Mitch McConnell is going to lose in 2020 because of lack of funds. That's the one thing Mitch McConnell always has, is plenty of money down the line. And Kentucky is a state, people often get, because Mitch McConnell's approval rating in Kentucky is always low. Whenever he runs for re-election, you look at how terrible his numbers are and you think he's vulnerable, and then somehow he manages to win. So, I think Democrats are obviously, more focused than ever on trying to beat Mitch McConnell. I think it will be an uphill battle. Kentucky is a very, very red state, as is the case in South Carolina, where Jamie Harrison, has raised a ton of money in his race against Lindsey Graham, is a very compelling candidate, but that state is still a very Republican state. My big question right now is, we have these numbers on some of these individual Senate races where Democrats look good. The number we're still waiting for, Willie, right now is the number for the Democratic National Committee on the whole and from Vice President Biden. And, earlier this week, and I'm going to look at my note here for a second, the Trump campaign and the RNC put their first quarter number out. That number was $212 million for the first quarter, $63 million in the month of March, which is a record-shattering number. The RNC and the Trump campaign are breaking all fundraising records, including the ones that President Obama set when he was in office in the 2012 cycle. And yet we sit here waiting right now for the Biden campaign and the DNC to report its overall number. That is going to be a very important thing. But Joe Biden has had a great week this week, unambiguously great. The one thing that I think is causing people who are on the Biden team and affiliated Democrats some concern is whether there's going to be a giant mismatch between the fundraising that the president racked up and the RNC racked up, and where the vice president stands financially, along with the DNC, when we get those numbers.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.